What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another watch list video. Happy Tuesday. Another boring day. An absolute sleeper. We got Nvidia earnings tomorrow after the close tomorrow night. So seems like the markets are awaiting that, right? You got a triple inside day on SPY. Been trading within the super tight range the last few days, and there's been very few names working, very few setups, very few good quality setups. And the watch list over the last week, it's been pretty poor. QQQ rejecting the 50-day, needs to get back over it, or I will watch that same spot I talked about yesterday at $700 level. If we trade into that, that's a spot I'm watching for a bounce. The IWM also super tight. Maybe this one looks a little bit better. I don't know. I can't tell if it's bull flagging or if it's just built a higher low and it's just super tight and it wants to break higher. We'll have to see. I think Nvidia is really just you know the main driver of the which way the market breaks, right? QQQ, not my favorite day today. I don't know how to speak of this action. Like, it's like, is it continuing to break down, or are we going to push back through the 50? It feels like we're just waiting. And then the SPY, it's like, looks like it could definitely break down or build a higher low here. But even if it does break down, we got a big area of support. So not too much. Like I said, sleeper, absolute sleeper of a market, right? SMH, low volume day, tons of overhead supply, needs so much work. Don't see anything too attractive in this group at all, but it's very important. So, I'd like to see this wake up. I did take about 2 or 3 trades today. I guess you could say three. I took an 8% position in this Moderna, exactly what I talked about yesterday, through that prior day high right off the open. Gave a perfect spot. Thought that was awesome, so I took advantage of that the first 5 minutes of the day. About an 8% position, so was able to close pretty nice, which is awesome. Still sitting in this one. Haven't taken a trim. Maybe this thing can get back to highs very quickly. Wouldn't be surprised. I also took a little bit of a tiny loss here on Palantir as a 620 setup right here as it's triggered the 620. Thought it was maybe going to turn back up and close with a nice hammer candle on the day. They didn't. Rolled over, stopped me out at low a day. It is what it is. But I think it was worth the little bit of loss. And then I did try a 1% size and rum as a short at this prior pivot as it started to fail right there. So that's about it. This is something I shouldn't even talk about because it's 1% size, so I don't really care too much about that. But like I said, sleeper market, there's really not too much going on. It's very boring. Let's get into the futures and the after hours here. I saw INTU, Intuit down, 10% in the after hours, Zoom down 4 or 5% in the after hours, which is kind of looks like it was pushing the IGV down just a little bit there, which is interesting. Maybe we'll see a little bit of a gap down, but right into the 20-day, I think would be a nice spot. I'll continue to keep an eye on all these software names. Your ES looks like a bear flag with a big area of support below, like I talked about on the SPY, right? And the NQ had a tight inside day. That just looks to me like it wants to go lower. I don't know. It's just not the best action. It's reminding me of over here when we had like a super tight inside day, maybe a little bit of a bounce, and then we continued lower. So maybe that's what we need to see. There's been so much volatility, and we've just been chopping last week. We chopped in here, tried to push, failed breakout, and we've just been chopping in here. So super boring market. Crude, a little bit of a failed breakout here. Not the best, kind of a wedge drop today. So that is what it is. Gold still continuing higher, right? A bit of a rest day today and looks like in the after hours, but this GDX and I'll throw up all my other charts here. The GDX, Wheaton Precious Metals, which is WPM. Geez, if I can spell. And NEM for a short, right? Double top short sales, what I'm looking like coming right into that left side peak is an interesting spot. Same thing with that Wheaton Precious Metals, right? Same exact setup. Maybe we can get, it looks like we're getting a little bit of a push in the after hours, continue push tomorrow, and then a failure, breach and fail at that level. That'd be an area to look for short. But if you don't want the single stock risk, you can just go a short in GDX. I'll probably get both of them if I can get one of them and then GDX. But my main focus definitely would be this GDX. Just anything short, you got a big gap right here. So maybe we trade up into this gap. Who knows? I'm just going to wait for this thing to give a 620 setup to the downside or start to fail, lose VWAP, and then I'll get short. It's just an absolute unreal move. And I mean, you look at NEM, and this is just absolutely ridiculous. You look at a weekly chart, this is absolutely ridiculous. This thing is either going to pull back for a few days and then go sideways, or, it's going to continue for another day or two, get even more parabolic, and then, like I said yesterday, the more and more continues to go up, the more it's going to be on my short list because this is just ridiculous, okay? Don't want to talk about it too much, but simply just going to be watching these ones for a short. Bitcoin, strong move up, needs to keep building this flag that's trying to, I thought Circle wasn't bad today. I saw some people like PBA, great guy grabbing this one right off that 200 day. I thought that was an awesome spot. you know, that was super nice. Personally didn't have too much interest in that, but Hood is another one, right? You consider this part of that crypto group, pushing higher, which is nice. IBIT still too high up there for me to be buying it. ETHA, same thing. And I saw PURR, another one continuing higher, but it's right at that left side peak, so maybe a double top short sale, massive move like this. So I can't see myself buying this thing all the way up here as a breakout. Would rather let it build a new range now, pull back, build a higher low, whatever. Not viable for me right now, but like I said, want to let these build their ranges. Going back to my charts here, right? Let's go over breadth real quick, right? Nice improvement today, right? I like to see this continue into NVIDIA earnings with more high quality setups, you know, emerging and following through, and maybe NVIDIA can help wake up the semiconductor group as well. Who knows, right? For now, it was a decent day under the hood, though. Nothing too impressive. Kind of same thing, right? It was a nice day. Nothing insane like a, you know, a big monster breadth day, but maybe we can get that tomorrow. Who knows? That's definitely what I'll watch for. Going over the groups real quick, and I'm trying to make this super quick. Like XBI, super nice day today. Like I talked about, Moderna was awesome today. NTRA, super nice follow through. Guild is another one, super nice follow through from the inside day. And CDNA, the high tight flag breaks out, super interesting. XLV, another one had that flag, a little bit of a push day. Eli Lilly, you know, kind of red today. I tried to add to this one today. Actually, this is another one that I didn't talk about. I tried to add like 4 or 5% back onto this one, and it just didn't stick. If I go to intraday chart here, right, it started to take off. I added 5% the first 5 minutes a day. It was acting awesome, and then it completely unwound, came all the way back and didn't close my favorite. So I'll, you know, a loss of the 10-day, I'll trim even more, but I did trim off a fourth of this one again today on top of my ads. So we'll see. Hopefully it can work out. But J&J, inside day, right under a pivot. Don't think this looks too bad. And then Merck was another one. Super nice follow through. These are acting awesome. And then AbbVie, I threw this on the list. Double inside days, building a little flag out of a base. Think it looks pretty good. This group is just awesome, whether it's healthcare, genomics, biotech, they are the top leading groups. ArcG, another continuation day higher, looks awesome. TXG, same thing, you know, just slowly pushing higher. TEM was another one that reminded me of you get a big pullback in the morning, and it could have offered a really good spot as a washout. I didn't personally take this one, whether it's at the 5-day or whatever. I was kind of waiting it for to come back right to the pivot, but nonetheless, I think it was a really good one to pick up. But you know, just not enough digestion for me. It just broke out of a base, so maybe it was a good spot. Who knows? We'll see in the next few days. But nonetheless, I think this chart still looks absolutely awesome. It's in a great group, so that's what you want to go for. Awesome. Twist, another one, just continue higher. And GH, okay, this one is on the list, right? Building a big base, not a bad day today, tight day. Kind of reminds me of Eli Lilly right here, where it kind of had that super tight 2 days, and then eventually push through that as the higher low setup. So I'm going to be watching this as a higher low setup tomorrow. Super interesting. I saw uranium kind of picking up a little bit today, but man, these things are pieces of shit. CCJ finally back above the 200. Who really cares? DNNN, same thing. It is what it is. NXE, same thing. You can even talk about the pieces of turd like Oklo. I do not care for these stocks, but who knows? Cool to see them picking up off the 200. You got your consumer stocks, Dash continuing higher, Airbnb, another one acting fine, Expedia, right? Freshly out of that little bit of pivot. Inside day today doesn't look too bad, right? It's in a good group. They're acting awesome. Eat, inside day, run under a pivot. Booking, another one, super tight. You know, rejection day of a pivot, but it looks like it could easily push higher tomorrow. VSXY, another one, super tight on the 50-day, doesn't want to push higher. It looks like maybe it could. It's kind of right under that, you want to call this $88 area. I think if you want to take this name maybe through the prior day high, it could work. It's super tight right there on the 56. You know, 6 to 8 days, just super tight in there. So super interesting. Copper, man, this thing is an absolute beast. Another one where it's you know, coming right into highs. So we'll see if it can you know, push through that or reject. FCX is an absolute monster. SCCO, another one, just a new all-time closing high. TECK Tech, another one, new all-time closing high. And then HBM, and there's a few others like ERO, I think is another one you can throw on there. Just absolute monsters. So continue to keep an eye on these ones. They're acting great. If you were able to buy these as breakouts or on their first pullback, great job. But I just personally didn't. These things don't trade as clean as I'd want them to, so it's hard for me to own them. XME, right? A group that's slowly been kind of waking up with your MP, not too bad. And then USAR, another one that's, you know, kind of building out, but not too much interest in these ones, right? The turds finally start to lift off after the market is getting hit. This usually tends to happen. Sometimes they end up following through and actually working, and sometimes they'll break out for a day or two, and then it'll just offer a short setup, and then the thing will get absolutely annihilated. So who knows, or it just will trade like shit. But nonetheless, I just want to continue to keep an eye on these. Going over tech or software, IGV, a little bit of a, you know, breakdown day to day. You saw a lot, like I talked about Palantir. The overall structure looks fine. It's just overall building a super nice range. Still going to keep an eye on this one, a higher low, see how it trades tomorrow. Will be super interesting. Maybe gets as low as the 20-day. I don't know, but nonetheless, you know, you get a gap down in the IGV, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a bunch of these gapping down. We'll continue to keep an eye on them into those support levels, see how they act there. And that'll be super interesting. But Microsoft, awesome day today, right? The relative strength and just slowly grinding higher all day. Thought that was pretty awesome. It's hard to see a setup on this one right now, and in the last few days as well. Maybe some continued action, more clarity would be definitely super interesting. ServiceNow, I threw this on the list, man. It looks absolutely awesome, right? It's just under that pivot, 4 days tight, pretty much building a little bit of a flag. Give us an inside day tomorrow, or if this wants to just, and I'm assuming it's gapping down as well. So we'll see what that looks like. Hopefully it doesn't break today's lows, but if it does, maybe a pull into the 20-day, 200-day will be an interesting spot. But nonetheless, let this thing continue building out a little bit of a range. It's building above the 200-day. I like it and maybe could go for it on a higher low. We'll have to see how it opens up tomorrow. Same with all these, right? GitLab's another one. Looks pretty good building a flag, but a gap down could ruin today's lows. Maybe into the 20-day, another interesting spot. Path is another one where it looks like it wants to push out. Zeta's another one. I think I have this on my list. Yeah, it's just trying to build a flag. Kind of last 2 days, iffy action, but I want to continue to keep an eye on these. And then Shopify, I still consider this a software name, even though it's you know, IT or whatever. But nonetheless, power earnings gap, and it's acted awesome today. Relative strength the last 4 days. It's been doing pretty well. Continue to build out this range. Would be interesting. Your Magnificent Seven, right? Super tight. Looks like it wants to push out, but we'll see. You got right, your Nvidia earnings, right? I talked about Microsoft acting awesome. Amazon, I want to keep an eye on this, right? It just stayed right under yesterday's high. It's trying to build a higher low. The range is not my favorite, but if it can just push through today's highs, that'll be an interesting spot for me to look to get into some if it wants to take off, or give us an inside day tomorrow, or maybe a few more days of action will get me excited, or like an up day and then another few days of tightness. Who knows though? You got Nvidia right around the corner. It got hit yesterday. Inside day today. Is it trying to build a higher low? I don't know. Google, I saw had an inside day today, but is this a short spot at the 50? Like, I don't know. I don't know with some of this stuff. It's just been acting poor, and the market's just at a weird spot. Cyber, right back under that pivot. Doesn't want to break higher tomorrow. Maybe if you get a gap down to IGV and some of the software stuff, I'm starting to see a little bit of a gap down on this even as well. Obviously, a lot of these are software. FTNT, I saw had a double inside day. It's getting super tight, but is it a bear flag to continue lower, or is it trying to build a higher low? I debated putting on the list because you got CrowdStrike acting weak, Rubrik was acting pretty weak today. Did try to hold the 20-day in there, and then Okta, you know, could be an undercut and rally. I'll pay attention to it, but it's below the 50, so we'll have to see if it can act a little bit better in there. But it's a group to continue to keep an eye on. I saw Dell was green today, right through that 3 days of tightness. SMCI was another one in that same group. A really nice update. There's no real clear setup for me, but it is trying to build itself back above that 200-day after an earnings gap up through the 200. So let it continue doing that. Let it build that clear range, and it'll be something to keep it on. HP though, tight day, not an inside day, but very close. But nonetheless, is this going to break down from here, or is it going to push up higher and we're going to be back in on some of these? I don't know, but yeah, that's kind of just how I feel with a lot of stuff. I just don't know. The market's at just an area where it's like it has to make a decision, and we'll see if certain setups continue showing up and then trigger, and I'll be trading those if they do. But for now, I just don't see a whole lot to do. And I did want to throw in that NCLD, right, NeoCloud ETF, a little bit of a bounce today, but the group sucks. But I will say I am watching this NBIS through today's highs. It aligns up perfectly with that 50-day. So if this wants to wake up from this higher low on Monday, or sorry, Friday, and then today kind of makes, establishes that pivot, push through the 50-day, get us back through that pivot, and I'd probably get back in this name with like 5-10% size. Just continue to watch it. It's been a beast, and it's not giving up too much compared to like an Iron or like a Hut, which yes, these ones were bounced today, but these things have given up so much. NBIS has gotten hit pretty hard, but I mean, the earnings gap up, big bounce. Maybe it just needs some time to rest. Who knows? But not my favorite. Okay, going over my list here, I talked about Abby through this pivot test today's high is an interesting spot as a breakout, but this name moves slow, so who knows? Maybe just rather do nothing than trade this, but I'll continue to keep it on it. Amazon through today's highs / Monday's highs will be an interesting spot. Just want to continue to keep an eye on this. You know, it's building some sort of a range here. Could be a higher low spot. I like the weekly, right? Low volume pullback, right? Kind of volume drying up a little bit. And it looks like we're trying to form an inside week. So let it build this range out here. But if it can get a nice pop breakout through this little bit of a downtrend it's building here on an hourly chart, just interesting. Frog, right? 5 days tight here. Push through this little bit of a tightness in the range, and you got a nice base. And you got a double inside week as well. So super so far, right? Can we push out here? Are we going to break down, lose this 50-day? I don't know. But if we can put an inside day tomorrow or push above the range, I would be willing to try some of this. GDX, watching for a short into the gap. That's probably a spot for me where I'd watch. That's going to be about it. NEM, same thing. Breach today, maybe a little bit of a breach tomorrow on a little bit of a gap up, and then a failure, and I'm looking to short. Wheat and precious metal, same thing. Give us a little bit of a breach at that level, then a failure, and I'll look for a short. GH, you're building a nice base, push through today's highs, has a spot for a higher low. Think that could be a super interesting. GitLab, a little bit of a gap down tomorrow, so we'll see how this one ends up, but maybe at the 20-day could be a good spot. I was going to say I would watch the prior day's highs, but depending on how we gap down, we'll see where we open tomorrow. But overall, it's building some sort of a flag. Hinge, another one through the pivot, is an interesting spot for me as a flat base breakout, almost like a cup with handle. It's building. This name looks really good, so, and it's in a great group. I want to continue to keep an eye on it. MongoDB, it's been weak the last 2 days. But I like the weekly chart. It's not giving up too much, and it's just a big move up, and it's just pulling back. It's trying to find itself a higher low. So I'll watch to see how this opens. I don't want it to open like all the way down here. I think that'll kind of give it up for me, but I'll watch as the undercut and rally of today's lows. If it wants to push through, you know, if it wants to pull under and then push right back through as an undercut and rally, or if it just wants to push through this prior pivot / today's highs, would be an interesting spot. Continue to keep an eye on it. Inside day tomorrow as a super tight day, or next few days, just build tight along here as a higher low and then push through would be interesting. Microsoft, continue to keep an eye on this. Showed nice relative strength. ServiceNow, give us an inside day as a higher low setup, or just you know, we'll see how this one acts in the morning. Palantir, same thing, right? Give us an inside day. Continue showing maybe a little bit more relative strength. Didn't quite show relative strength today. The group was breaking down, but nonetheless, it's the name I want to continue to keep an eye on. Snow, hammer candle off the 20-day, push above it as a higher low. Kind of reminds you of something here and here. It likes to do this right off that 20-day. So we'll see if it can do it again, or it's just going to break down and lose it, and this thing's going to be done. And then we see the 50 maybe. I don't know, but kind of a little bit of pullback, almost like a flag. Could draw like whatever you want, but nonetheless, I want to continue to keep an eye on this name. And then Zeta, same thing. We'll see how we push into this level. Right, do we undercut and rally that? Do we fall into the 20-day? Is that going to be a spot where it turns up? With the gap down, some of these, I gotta see how they open in the morning. But these are names that continue to keep an eye on. Continue keeping an eye on. Rubrik, same thing. Continue keeping an eye on this name. Right, had a little bit of above average volume today, right at the 20-day. Did barely hold it. And the weekly chart looks fine. It just needs more, and it needs to be acting better because the group has not been acting the best the last few days. Okay. The market remains in that higher difficulty choppy environment, and holding majority of cash feels best to me until the market picks a clear direction and we get more clarity specifically on that long side. Right, for now, I'm keeping my position sizing small, and I'm trying my best to avoid over trading this chop. Right, you're seeing that in a lot of stuff. Right, preserving both your physical capital and mental capital is important. You know, so we can be ready to press the gas when the market conditions really improve. Right, I'm prepared to flip on a dime if the conditions change, and if that's what is required and that's what happens. But at the moment, that does not appear to be what to do beyond monitoring the top names within the best leading groups on a 1 to 3 month scale. Right, NVIDIA reports tomorrow after the close. I will see you all after that tomorrow night. Hope you all have a good night. Sorry for the late video. Peace.